All right, what's up, everybody? This is Cody, aka DFS Prodigy, coming to you live with Gordo Gambles on the phone. Right now, we couldn't get Skype set up because of just some technical difficulties, but he's here on the phone. I'm here screen recording behind the glass. So we're talking UFC for this card upcoming on Saturday. It's a hell of a card. It's 11 fights. So I like that it's a small card personally. I think it's a lot better. I think we're going to have to really get tough with our choices. But how do you feel about this card, my man?
Yeah, man, it's not the most technical card around the biggest names, but there's a lot of action. Like, I see a lot of potential finishes. It's a great card. It's one of those ones where I couldn't pass up talking to you. So no matter how many difficulties we had, I don't care that I'm on the phone. I'm happy to be breaking it down with you today.
Yeah, same, man. With me sleeping in yesterday, and then now you at your job, we're gonna figure this out. Obviously, we're gonna get the card out there. We cannot pass up a week. Obviously, it's the UFC. It's too hard to pass it up. But starting with the top fight that I have pulled up is Miesha Tate versus Renault. How do you feel about this card, my man? How do you feel about this fight?
Well, we're starting with the co-main. Well, Miesha Tate's making her 5-year return. Hasn't fought since 2016. She held the belt once, and then two back-to-back losses there. And she took that time off, and usually when you have someone who takes your time off, with someone you want to fade, you don't know how they're going to come back. You don't know if they're going to have ring rust. But the thing is, she's coming back after a 5-year layoff and will still be the younger fighter by 10 years. It is someone making a return fight versus someone making their retirement fight. So I think that Tate has all the physicality to it because Renault has a style where she likes to bully people. She likes to be stronger than them, more physically fit. And it's a spot where I don't mind taking a shot on Tate here, even though she's coming back after that 5-year layoff. I think she's still going to tools to win, and it's her fight to lose. What do you think?
Yeah, man. So I typically wouldn't fade girls or guys that have a long layoff, but in this case, I'm kind of looking at the opposite side. Like you said, I like the Miesha Tate side. I think that her side of this fight is there. This is going to be kind of a juicy fight because it is in the DK range of 8,200 and 8,000. I don't like the quote with Renault saying that she's done, but at the flip side, I can see her going balls to the wall. But either way, I think Miesha Tate should get this fight done here. I don't see her loss coming to an end. I think she's going to come back. She looks shredded after 5 years. I mean, looking on the Instagram, it's Miesha Tate. Well, I mean, what else can you say about the girl? So Renault, I think, like I said, it's either going to be she's just not going to look good in this fight, or she's going to try to go balls to the wall in the first round, which I'm taking Miesha Tate here at 8,200. I think this is a fight for her to win. I think the mental game is there for her. She's in the conferences. She's ready to go. I think, like I said, the layoff's not going to be a huge effect like we've seen on other fighters. So personally, I'm liking the Miesha Tate side 110%.
And the thing is, too, Tate has shown that she's got a pretty good wrestling game as well, pretty good top game, and she's able to control Tate backs very well. And I think that's definitely a good path to her to win. I know she's not the most elegant striker, and I think Renault could strike on feet, but I think Tate wins those clinch battles. She dominates her against the fence, and then is able to secure back because she's got a great backpack style when she's on her back. Maybe get a late choke because Renault's been taken down in 11 straight fights, every single fight, at least once. Even the Holly Holm in there, too. And it's one of these things where if Tate can execute her game plan, if she has no ring rust, if she gets back on the horse, this is her fight to win.
Exactly. So I think we're both agreed that it's going to be Miesha Tate here. And then going to the next fight that I have pulled up just based on DK salary is Francis Figueiredo versus Malcolm Gordon. Talk to me about this flyweight fight, my man.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
This fight is going to take some years off my life. All right? I have promised myself that I will never, ever bet on Francis Figueiredo. He's not the same as his brother. I think he's hyped up way too much, and I think he's honestly not that good of a fighter, to be completely honest. Do you agree there?
Yeah, I always told myself that I was not going to want to play Malcolm Gordon, but
oh yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
here we go at 7,300.
Figueiredo. You have this fighter in Figueiredo who I think is overrated. I don't think he's that good. He's super slow. He has cardio issues. He has a decent right hand and decent ground game, but he's not special. I don't think he's that good. And then you look at Malcolm Gordon, knocked out in the first round in both his last 2 fights, has a glass chin, but he knows about it. And he's just one of these guys who's killed what should be killed. And unfortunately, he's been killed twice recently. And as you're recording this, the weigh-ins are going on. He's the last to the scale. And it's one of these things where no matter how much I want to fade Figueiredo, it's not the day to do it. Because Malcolm Gordon has a bunch of issues in terms of the chin issues, actually durability issues, all that stuff. But I feel like if Malcolm Gordon wins, it's going to be off his back. He's got a great game from guard. We've seen Figueredo be subbed before. So I'm really liking, no, I don't even know if I can say it, but some part of me wants to bet Malcolm Gordon, but I don't know if I'll swoop that low this week.
Exactly. But looking at this fight from a DK perspective, I don't see how 8,900 Francis Figueredo is going to get you there. I think if you want to take a value piece in Malcolm Gordon, if he gets it out of round one, he can easily pay that off the back. You know what I mean? From a betting perspective, I don't see Malcolm Gordon winning. But from a DraftKings perspective, I understand if you want to get to him as a value at 7,300. I completely understand that. That yes, the chin's awful, but again, the path to victory is going to be from the wrestling. If he can get those takedowns, that 7,300 price tag is going to get you there with ease. He's going to easily hit that value at least 3x.
Yeah, Gordon has an extremely low floor. If he gets knocked out in the first round, it's done so. But his ceiling is also very, very high. He's got a lot of first-round finishes. He's got a lot of skills. Just can he execute it without being knocked out?
Exactly. So I think we're both agreed that it's going to be Figueredo here. But again, from a DK perspective, if you want to get to Malcolm Gordon at a 7,300 price tag, I completely understand it, and I would not blame you one bit. But going down to the next fight that I have priced up with Jeremy Stephens versus Gamrot. Talk to me about this fight, my man. I love this fight.
Oh, this is a great fight. And we have Jeremy Stephens, and he's a guy who's never, ever backed down from a fight. He's got an insane resume in terms of people he's fought, but he's definitely on the decline recently with a couple of bad knockout losses, especially on a Calvin Kattar. Oh, my God. It's in my highlight reel still. And he's facing up-and-comer Matthews Gamrot, who should be in the top 10 soon. He's got great explosiveness. He's got that one punch KO power that he showed to Holtzman, and I think he's got a lot of potential. Now the thing is, Stephens is coming up a weight class. Stephens was on the decline, but he still has insane power. This man hits hard. So it's one of these things where if Stephens can blitz in, we don't know how much Gamrot's chin has really been tested, but I think you have to edge Gamrot all day. He's got the speed advantage. I think he's got the technicality advantage. He's got a nice stance where he's able to reel off those kicks as well. He's got some heavy hands. So I honestly see Gamrot maybe sitting Stephens down for another loss, and his first loss of the 155 weight division.
Exactly. I think this is all Gamrot's fight. I love him here. We've seen him come from KSW, which we know those fighters are legit. I think that given that the UFC paid him a ton, that should show you how the UFC does believe in him. That they're giving him the Stephens fight to basically prop him up. Because you've seen in the KSW that fighters make way more than they do in the UFC here and there. So the fact that they bought him out to bring him to the UFC, this is basically saying, this is your shot, Gamrot. Here you go. Win the fight. Let's prop you up and go on and so forth with your UFC career. So in my opinion, I think Gamrot's the overall better fighter here. I think this is a loss for Stephens that I'm going to chalk up for him. I think he's on the decline, like you were saying. I don't like the mentality that Stephens is coming on, especially from seeing him on the weigh-ins last fight. So, in my opinion, this is all Gamrot here. I love him here. I think the 8,600 price tag is definitely in his favor as a core piece of my lineups heading into the DK field.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think it's Gamrot all day. And whereas I love Jeremy Stephens, and I love he's not ready. I love that he's always up for a fight. It's just I don't think it's his fight to win here. Exactly.
That's what I'm looking at also. And then going on to the next fight that I have propped up at the 8,300 price tag of Khalil Taha versus Mazarov at 7,900. Talk about this fight, my man. This is an interesting fight.
Well, this fight is all around recency bias. We saw Khalil Taha look tough as a diamond, tough as nails against Barcelos his last time out, and a lot of people want to play him. He put up a great fight. I mean, he still got dominated in that fight, but it was a great fight. His chin held up, did a really good job. And then you look at Mazarov, he got subbed early, scoring very, very low on DK recently. So it's one of these spots where you have, they both suffered losses. One of them was a better loss than the other, let's say. So when you look at this and you see how durable Taha has been, I think that everyone's going to leave to him, and that's why he's the favorite. But in this spot, I think the money's on the underdog Mazarov here. He's got a great resume. He's fought a lot of good fighters. He's done a really good job on the regional scene in K1, and his losses have come to better competition. I mean, Taha has a few wins of his own, but who have they been that's that good, right? He's got some questionable wins, and when he takes that step up, he gets beaten. So I'm kind of looking at the underdog here, Mazarov. He's a strong fighter, and if they didn't get a debut against Nurmagomedov there, who knows what the value would be on his salary here.
Exactly. At these price tags, this is another fight where you're going to have to make a choice whether you fade both fighters or you play one that's going to give you that salary relief in the mid range. Because of Taha's at 8,300, I can see his path to victory. I understand it. I mean, the resume's there, but I think the resume for Mazarov is much better. I think the extensive resume that he has and the fighters that he's fought are way better. If I pull up Taha's resume right now on DK, I mean, Barcelios, Salman, Silva, I mean, these guys are not really high class. So if you look at the regional scene that Mazarov has fought, I like the fighters much more there. So again, I think I'm in agreement with you that I do like the Mazarov underdog fight at 7,900. To be honest with you,
I agree with everything you say except for Barcelos is top tier, man.
That's the only one where I see it. Yeah,
from Taha.
That's the only one that I see where that's basically the main guy that I see Taha fighting, even though the rest of the resume is just okay.
And he lost, and whereas he didn't get destroyed, he put up a great fight. Everyone thought he'd get knocked out early. That is why he's so favored this fight, because a lot of people were really impressed by the way he put up the performance against a top contender like Barcelos. So they want to bet him here, and I just don't know if that's the exact spot. I know Mazarov has a decent future ahead of him too, and if he didn't get subbed by Umar in that last fight, he might be the favorite here.
Exactly. And then on DraftKings, I have the main event pulled up now with Islam Makhachev at 9,400 versus Moses at 6,800. I repeat, 6,800 for Thiago Moses. Talk to me about this main event and let me hear your thoughts on it, my man.
Well, there's no denying that Makhachev is the future of this division. He's been crowned by Khabib himself, and he's put on dominant performances last time out. Now, Moises has done a great job himself. He's put on some nice performances. He's improved a lot recently. It's just a really tough fight for him stylistically. You look at Makhachev, he's got that suffocating top control, and that ground game is insane. He sets it up so well. He's very Khabib-esque. Well, he does train with Khabib a lot. He's Khabib's guy. But he mimics exactly what Khabib did to reign that division with the way he did. So it's one of these spots where, yes, I see Makhachev winning, and winning in a dominant fashion. I do agree that minus 700 on the betting line and 9,400 may be a bit steep, because I don't know if Makhachev is going to finish here. That's the thing. It's a 5-round fight. He'll get that top control. He'll get those takedowns. He should win. But without a finish, that's a very steep price tag to live up to. And on the other side, Moises is super cheap, but I don't see him scoring very high either. I think he gets dominated this fight. But it sounded like you were against it there. What do you think about Moises this week?
So I agree with you that Islam, the line's way too crazy in my opinion. 9,400 and the betting line that they have him on is way too steep. I think that they should give Moses more credit. I think that the Islam Makhachev, I think they're giving him the benefit of the doubt because of the name value. I think that if he didn't have this name value, then this would be a whole different question. Are you agreeing with me yet or no?
I mean, he has looked good, and the name value is for a good reason. I mean, he's able to put on his performances and absolutely dominate out there. But if he wasn't, I have to say that it's one of those guys where if Khabib doesn't have such high praise with him, we wouldn't have that high praise either. Like, Khabib was only more than a minus 300 favorite in 2 of the UFC fights, whereas Makhachev has been a minus 600 favorite his last 3. So there's a lot of high hype around this guy. I do think he wins, but it's just not one where I really want to spend up that much.
I think the line, if the name value was not here, I would take a guess, and I would bet the line would be negative 300 compared to negative 750 where we're seeing it in places.
Yeah, I think this is also a very stylistic thing too. It's not only just the line, but it's also very stylistic in this point as well.
Exactly. So I think that everybody's going to want to bet Islam, and I think everybody's going to want to put them in their parlays. But I'm giving it. I can see the path to victory to Moses. I'm not saying that he wins this fight, no, but I can see where Islam gets knocked out, which we've seen this before. I think the path to victory for Moses is going to be quick to the punch, go in there, go quick, get your knockout punch, and then put him down to the ground. That's basically what his path to victory is going to be. And if Islam wants to get Moses to the mat, then Islam's going to win this with ease. So I think that Moses has been working for this fight. Everybody's known that he's been putting in the work. I think this is not going to go showing that Moses, yes, he's been putting on the groundwork. He's been putting up the striking work. He's getting ready for this fight. I think the price that they're getting him at is disrespectful, in my opinion. So, I think the name value for Islam's kind of giving him more so the betting line favorite and the juiced odds. But again, I would not be surprised if I come out and see Thiago Moses getting you that knockout because this is a 5-round fight. I don't know how Islam's going to be going into that third and fourth round. That's where I'm also kind of looking at is how the gas tank's going to live up to the hype that he brings to the table.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from, but I just don't agree. I think Makachev was wipes the floor with him, grinds him out to a decision, and I just don't know how Moises can compete. I don't see Moises subbing him. The knockout's a bit far-fetched for me. He made a good line on the side of the distance, but it's just a bit far-fetched, and I'm just going to take Makachev to ride out an easy decision.
I see. Yeah, I get it. Like I said, I think this is a good fight to where we're going to see that. I think if Moses can live up to the hype and if Islam has better odds than the name value that gives him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I made if anyone follows me on Twitter, I called it my long-term investment parlay last week where I had O'Malley, Makachev, and Nunes who fights in August in a parlay. Just threw, I think it was 4 units on that to cash out a few. So I am high on Makachev here. I wouldn't spend too much on him because that is a very huge price tag, but I do have some cash on the line here.
Agreed. And then going to the next fight that I'm really liking is Daniel Rodriguez versus Preston Parsons. Talk to me about this fight, my man.
Yeah, it's one of these ones where I think Parsons has a pretty nice future in the UFC, and he's looked really well. He's been finishing a lot recently. He's pretty dangerous. But he's got a really tough start against D-Rod. D-Rod averages 8 strikes per minute. This guy's absolutely insane volume, great crisp boxing, and a decent ground game we've seen recently, too. Now, Parsons has a lot of his wins by sub, which could be dangerous, but I just think it's a tough ask on short notice. But I know you got a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to steal too much of your time. Tell me about this fight. What do you got here?
I love Rodriguez here. I think also, if you go look at price picks, which I had one already pulled up for the takedowns at over 0.5, all Rodriguez has to get is 1 takedown. I'm in love with that price pick, honestly. So if y'all want to go follow price picks, they're definitely a site where you take the over and under on odds and you're betting against the house. So in my opinion, like I said, the takedown for only 0.5 on price picks, I'm easily taking the over. But I love Rodriguez here. He's a striking machine. I don't see how he loses here. I do think Preston Parsons has a good future. I do like the upside that he brings to the table in the future. But for right now, this is going to be the Daniel Rodriguez show, plain and simple.
The thing is, I don't think D-Rod's going to want to play on the ground. He has the massive advantage on the feet, and we've seen that. He's able to beat a lot of people in this division on the feet. He's got great boxing. It's just Parsons' biggest path to victory is on the ground if he wants to catch a limb of something. Catch a leg, catch an arm, catch a choke. And I don't know if Rodriguez is going to shoot for that takedown and mess with Parsons on the ground because Parsons got a pretty nice resume when it comes to a ground game. He's done really well recently with most of his wins coming by submission. So if I were you, I'd stay away from that takedown prop because I don't see D-Rod shooting a takedown here.
I think that theoretically he has the upside for the takedown, though, because of Parsons is going to try to get him there, but I don't think Parsons will be able to, personally.
Yeah, Dion's got some great takedown defense, and I think he's got the clear advantage on the feet. I think it's going to be a great fight, but if I were D-Rod, I just break away from the clinch and just tee off on him.
And I think at 8,800, that's a great price tag for D-Rod here. I love the price tag. He's another core piece of my lineup going into the weekend on DK.
Yeah, I'm taking D-Rod to win too. I'm a bit nervous for some reason. Parsons giving me he's got some nice ground game that I'm kind of scared that D-Rod will mess around with and try to prove something. So whereas I am taking D-Rod to win, I like a lot of other people that range like Gamrot and just a bunch of people we'll talk about later too at that price tag.
I think that also, if this was not a short notice fight, I would be more so on Parsons. But given this, like I said, this is a very short notice fight, I have to take D-Rod here.
Fair, I don't blame you.
And then going to the next fight in Vieira versus Stolfovitz. This is definitely an interesting fight that I wanted to hear your thoughts on, my man.
This is the fight I've been looking forward to for a while now. This is the fight I have my eye on. And again, this is the one where there's a lot of recency bias. Now, the book is out on Rodolfo Vieira. He has the best ground game, one of the best ground games in the entire UFC. He's a champion BJJ for a reason, and he is deadly on the ground. But that is all he is. He's a one-trick pony. He will sub you in the first round or he'll gas out in the second, and that is it. And whereas I think that he should be the favorite in the spot and that he has the more clear path to victory because we've seen Stolfus stick his neck out there. We've seen Stolfus want to engage on the ground. And we've seen where Vieira just will excel and actually exploit those weaknesses Stolfus has. If he can't get that sub in that first round or early second, he's done for. Like, absolutely done for. He got subbed by Flavio Hernandez, and I know Flavio Hernandez is putting on a great pace and tiring him out. But Stolfus is no slouch either. He put up a great fight against Dawkins, and whereas he lost that one over a course of 3 rounds. And if he's able to survive even 1 round with Rodolfo Vieira here, he's super live for a finish. Now, I'm actually going to be playing a lot of Stolfus on DraftKings because I think that he has a very high ceiling here. Because if he survives that first round and Vieira gasses out, he will be able to accumulate so many significant strikes, so much damage, and probably finish Vieira in the second. Now, he has a very, very small floor because if he gets subbed, he gets subbed early, right when they're all dry and not sweating much. And that's definitely a possibility. Vieira's top tier. He's one of the best in the game. But I don't know. I have a feeling that Vieira's going to gas out again. And Stolfus at plus 200 is my lock-in with a bet. Is going to be able to tee up on him as soon as they break and they tire. So I'm looking for Stolfus to wear him down, survive the first round, and then tee off. What about you?
I'm glad we're on the same page here because I'm on Stolfus right here. I don't like Vieira here whatsoever. I think the gassing is going to get to him after round 1. I think people are taking Stolfus for granted. I think that he's very underrated. I see a lot of talks that Vieira is the black belt master. Everybody's he's gonna sub Stolfus. This is gonna be easy win. But look at the muscle mass also that Vieira has. He has no cardio whatsoever. It's all this muscle. That's why he's a one-trick pony, like you said. And going into the round 1, everybody knows that he's gonna go for the takedown and want to get the sub. But I think Stolfus outworks him here. I love what you said about him at 7,500. I love him here also. There's not much else to say, man. I'm completely on the right track and path with you on Stolfus.
You know what? Stolfus is one of those guys. Me and my co-host on Plays and Fade Sports, we talk about this. Cardio is just so important. It's one of these things where if you gas out, your opponent has so many opportunities to take advantage of it, right?
Agreed.
Cardio is one of the most important things in MMA. And whereas I think that Stolfus can put himself in a dangerous position in terms of sticking his neck out or letting himself be there for a sub. He knows what Rodolfo Vieira is going to do. He knows that Vieira is going to try to take him down. And if we know that if Vieira tires out, he's not going to the ground. He's staying on his feet and going to try to tee off. And I think Stolfus is a great path to victory here. Agreed.
Going next to the next fight in Lemos versus Congeio. How do you feel about this fight, my man?
Now, this is my favorite DraftKings play of the week, and it's a women's fight, so this is not something I say very often. But Amanda Lemos is an absolute killer in the cage, an absolute killer. And the book is out of Montserrat Ruiz. Like, you know exactly what she can do. If you can survive a head and arm choke, if you can survive head and arm takedown or a star pull takedown, you're able to win this fight. She was able to control Cheyenne Bias for 15 minutes with the same takedown and ground control. And she will not be able to do it against Lemos. Lemos has an insane ground game, insane power, insane volume, and has the edge everywhere. And what Ruiz likes to do is she likes to absorb all these hits in order to close distance. And that is just going to rack up the DraftKings points for Lemos here. And Lemos might even be alive to finish. I think Montserrat Ruiz isn't going to be able to take any more damage. What do you think?
I'm on the Lemos train. As you can tell on my parlay that I'm all in on her. At 9,300, I love her here. This is a female fight. I know Ruiz is scrappy. She looked good in the Cheyenne Bays fight. But Cheyenne Bays is way different than Lemos. Plain and simple. This is a Lemos fight for her to win. I don't see how she loses this fight. She's a fluid puncher. And the footwork is great to me with Lemos. I think this is just another chalk, easy win. That you just chalk it up as another win for Lemos and move on. Plain and simple.
You know what? Lemos has looked insane since she dropped down a couple weight classes, and she's really found her own at 115 there. She's tough, crisp striking, and has a great ground game as well, so I'm loving her as a parlay piece.
Agreed. About this next fight, Miles John versus Dos Santos. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is one where it's a pretty big clash in styles as well, and Miles John had that insane knockout over Kevin Abdullah last time out. Well, insane depending on how you look at it. I think Miles Johns had an illegal play grabbing his hands, but it was a nice knocker nonetheless. But he's a wrestler. He's got some great wrestling accolades. He's beaten Adrian Yanez, who's a nice top prospect. He beat him in a fight just by relying on his takedowns. And he's got a good top control. But he's facing a guy in Dos Santos who's just great on the ground as well. He's got 9 of his wins on the mat. And it's one of these things where if he doesn't get too technical or wants to rest on top, Santos can take advantage of it. And he's got the ability to just snap something up, or if Miles Johns wants to just lose position and get tired out there, I think he could be taken advantage of on the mat. I don't think he's that good up from bottom, and all it takes is one reversal, because we know how good his opponent is on the mat. We know his style likes to walk him down, and if John can't keep that range, if he relies too much on his takedown and wants to mess around the ground, it could be dangerous. So I'm actually not even take the shot of the dog here. It's one of these fights where I think I want to stay away from, but I would not be surprised if Miles Johns got his neck smashed from back and get a nice rear naked choke for Santos.
See, I think I'm on the flip side with Miles Johns. I like him at 8,400 a ton. I think this is a prop-up fight that they're really wanting to get. Okay, so Miles Johns, the reason why I like Miles Johns here versus Dos Santos is because of the takedown defense. I think that his takedowns are more so there for him, and I think the wrestling background that you're giving him, I think I like it a little bit more. So I'm on the wrestling background of Miles Johns. I think this is a prop-up win for him. But Dos Santos, I can see his path to victory also. I think this is a juicy fight at 7,800 versus 8,400, but just the odds on Johns that I can get is why I like him a lot more so than I think the public goes to. What about you, man?
It's just the ground game of Dos Santos that scares me. He's got so many wins. He's so fluid on the ground. And Miles Johns is great from top position and great on the ground. But when you take him on his back, he struggles a bit there. We don't know how he's like. And we know Dos Santos is very slick to grab in the back. There's one of the spots where I'm scared to back that choosy favorite. And on the feet, it should be John all day. I know Dos Santos got that heavy pressure and wants to push forward. It's just, does John rely on that takedown? Does he keep taking him down? That's what was scary, because he's playing in Dos Santos' world there.
Exactly. And then going on to the next fight in Beto versus Nashimoto, how do you feel about this fight, my man?
Yeah, man, this one's a tough one. It's the first fight of the night. It's usually the one I want to target on DraftKings. But it's really, really, really hard to predict. You started soft.
So I think the 9,000 price tag for him, for Nashimoto, is definitely there for him. I think Rodrigo, he's a huge fighter. I think the physicality that he has is there. But yes, the holes in the striking game is scary, but the submission game is off the wall. I think Beto is a striker who, yes, at the 7,200 price tag, I can see his path to victory, but I just think that Rodrigo, he's a monster among men here in this fight. This is the first fight of the night. I hate targeting first fights also, which is kind of why I'm staying away from it, but I can see Rodrigo just piecing him up and out striking him. What about you, man?
Yeah, it's the classic striker versus grappling matchup here, and that's why I want to say that, because we know that Nascimento has got a great ground game, and we know that Bordeaux has those holes in his game, except that we don't know how good Bordeaux is exactly. He needed that time to showcase it. I know he trains with Fiona again, which is a great training plan to have. It's just, if Nascimento is able to lock up that takedown and get him down to the mat, the fight's probably over. These are both fighters who finish all their fights, and the fight will be finished. I think it's either Bordeaux on the feet or Nascimento on the ground, but I do massively edge Nascimento. But I would not be surprised if Bordeaux starts it.
Exactly, and we also need to remember, like I said, this is a first-round fight, so keep in mind that first-round fights, there's so much variance going into these that it's crazy to me, which is why I don't like playing first-round fights to begin with whatsoever.
Yeah, this fight I think should definitely finish. I think that Nascimento's got his path to victory. He's probably a good pay-up option at that price. It's just, do I want to lay that again, instead of like someone at Lemos and that price tag, or someone like Rodriguez in that same general vicinity? So it's a choice I got to make, and I think Nascimento wins this by submission. It's just not something I really want to go crazy on.
Agreed. And then going to a fight that I really do like, especially from a DK price, is Gabriel Benitez versus Billy Quarantino. Talk about this fight, my man.
Yeah, I'm on the dog here. I mean, pre-tape, I was like, this is Benitez all day. Benitez, this is his fight to win. But he's got that, all his bosses coming in, people who are pressuring him and taking him down and getting in his face and not letting him strike at range. And Billy Quarantillo's not going to let him strike at range. Billy Quarantillo's got great cardio. He lets the fight go long. He's able to chain up, get in the guy's face, pressure him. And if you don't give Benitez space to get off those leg kicks, get off those head kicks, I think that this is Quarantillo's fight all day. But he doesn't have the best takedown defense. He's only got wins over absolute cans. So it's not one of these things where I'm super high on Benitez. And I think Quarantillo actually has a great path to victory here. And on a slate with very few underdogs, I'm liking Quarantillo here. Now, I did talk about it more in depth on my Plays and Fades YouTube channel, but what do you think about this fight?
I do like this fight. I think if you want to go Benitez, I would not blame you one bit because it's going to be the cap that's going to get you there. I mean, we know Benitez. Basically his one trick is those calf kicks, which those are killer. We've seen him in the Justin Danes fight. We've seen him with the resume that he brings to the table. It's the calf kicks that get him there. But Billy Q, I do like on the flip side at the $77 price tag because I can see his path to victory also. So, in my opinion, I think that you can see the power in Quarantillo's hands get you there also. So I think this is just a stylistic great fight from a fan's perspective also.
Yeah, and I see all the love for Quarantillo. I don't think I'll have an official bet on it, but from the DraftKings perspective, if he gets in his face, eliminates the kicks from Benitez and just walks through all the fire, he's got the path to victory on the ground, against the cage, in close. And I think he's going to make it a really tough day for Gabriel Benitez here.
Agreed. So before we wrap up the show, man, tell me your favorite fight of the night from a DK perspective.
I think the number one fight you got to target is probably the Vieira Solfus fight or the Nascimento Godot fight. Two fights that should end really, really early. Completely two opposite fighters, and one's great on the ground, other should go on speed. So those are two fights where I think you should really target. I don't mind the Quarantillo as a dog too, but I'm really looking forward to that Vieira Solfus fight.
Agreed. I'm really looking forward to the Gamrot Stevens fight. I think that Gamrot 8600. I'm really liking that price tag.
Oh yeah.
So that pretty much wraps up the show, guys. Again, thank you all for tuning in. This is the UFC Breakdown. I know it's an 11-fight card. It's a small card, but again, there's a lot of places that we do like. If y'all have any questions, definitely hit up Gordo Gambles on Twitter. He's all over the place there. Come hit us up in the Discord. We'll be talking UFC throughout the day also while we're both at work. So again, thank y'all for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their day. Have a good one, everybody.